I'm Rachael Schwartz. I lead strategy for Bose's Consumer Electronics division. I've been with Bose for about a year, so I think half of you have asked me if I know different people. There's 8,000 people there, and I know about 15 people, so I will get to them, but you can keep trying me. I'll eventually know somebody. And prior to Bose, I was at Keurig for 8 years. So at Keurig, I started the innovation team and led their IoT practice. So I'm happy to talk offline about that work as well. But there's a lot of really interesting projects going on at Bose. And as the strategy leader, I get to choose and get involved in the most fun ones. One of the really exciting ones that I've had the opportunity to get involved in over the past year is working with Bose to build a totally new ecosystem business model around Bose AR. So Bose has been a traditional product company, physical hardware product company for the past 55 years, and this is its first foray into other sources of revenue and other types of products. So it's been a fun journey. I'll take you through what exactly Bose AR is, and then I'll also take you through the steps we took to creating a new ecosystem business model. So first, a little bit about Bose. Bose is a leader in consumer electronics. We develop, manufacture, and sell high-end audio products, so speakers, soundbars, premium home theater, headphones, and our newest product, I knew I had it somewhere. So these are our audio frames, which it's regular sunglasses, but it plays music through them, so happy to show you them afterwards. It is very cool, and it has great sound. And so that's a product we launched in January, and it's been growing very, very quickly. So it's a fun growing category to be in. Bose has, as I said, it's a traditional product model. So we develop, we manufacture, and we sell the products to retailers like Best Buy or Amazon or their equivalents around the world. It's a global company. And we also have a small direct presence. So we have Bose.com, and we have some Bose retail stores, but really not a huge direct presence. It's really our primary customers are the Best Buys and the Amazons and so on. So getting into a new ecosystem business model, a software business model, was really a big change for Bose, and still is. So what is Bose AR? So I'll start with how it started. Over the past 5 years or so, our fastest growing area of the business is our wearables, is our headphones, and as we've gone into wireless headphones, basically one issue that we've seen, a societal issue, is that consumers are more and more buried in their phone, listening to their music or their videos through our devices, but just removed from the world. And it's something that we wanted to try to address. And so with Bose AR, we've identified a solution for this. There are other solutions as well, but a solution in which we help our customers have a heads-up, hands-free approach to the world. So basically what we've done, and I'll go into a little bit more detail, but we've embedded sensors and microphones into our headphones. So the idea is that our users are able to access content from their phone and interact with that content while leaving their phones in their pockets. So allow them to, you'll see any ads that you see for Bose this holiday season, the models are all, and the actors are all looking up, looking around the world, listening to their music, not staring at their phone. So what exactly is Bose AR? It's an ecosystem that is made up of 3 main components. So the first component is Bose AR devices. So those are headphones and frames that are able to use this Bose AR software. The second part of it is the sensor array. So the sensors are in these headphones and frames, and the sensors detect where your head is facing and what your head movements are. And then the third part is a set of developer tools which allow developers to make content for this platform. And so it includes an SDK that takes the sensors, the data from the sensors in the headphone, and helps get those transmitted to the apps. There's also a set of libraries which then translate that data into what it should mean. So it comes in a bunch of raw data, and then the tools will then translate that and say, okay, that set of data is a head nod or a head shake, or that set of movement data means that somebody is running or doing push-ups or looking in this direction, or so on. And then there's some other tools that we've created to just try to ease the development of content on the platform. For users, what Bose AR is it's this heads-up and hands-free way to access and interact with Bose AR apps. So there are 3 types of ways that we enable this access. One is through voice, so being able to use voice to then get access to the apps and be able to interact through the apps. The second is through head gestures, so being able to navigate through the apps using a gesture-based UI, so basically head nods, head shakes, and other gestures that we will develop over time. And then the third is a passive way to navigate through apps, and I'll explain this. I'll give some examples that'll have this make more sense. But passively, by getting what the user is looking at or what they're doing from these sensors, where it directs the apps in certain ways, which makes much more contextually relevant applications. So developing an ecosystem typically takes, there's 3 components that are needed in developing a hardware-software ecosystem. You need the hardware itself, you need the content for the ecosystem, and then you need the users. And typically it's hard to create a new ecosystem. It takes a lot of money and a lot of focus because you can't just develop one piece of this wheel at a time. You have to work on all 3 of them, because they're very interconnected. So for example, you can't sell devices when you don't have any content on the devices, because users don't want to buy them. And you can't get developers to make content on those devices when you don't have any users that own the devices. So it's circular ecosystem that really needs to be developed as one piece, and it is generally quite tricky. Bose, let's see. So Bose was fortunate in that we didn't have to come out with a new device specifically for this ecosystem and try to get people to buy it before we had a set of content on it. We didn't have to launch a new console system or launch a new phone platform or so on, because we actually already sold millions of devices each year that could be easily adapted to this Bose AR ecosystem. So what we decided to do to get into Bose AR was last December, we took the QC35s, which are our highest selling headphones. These are the noise cancellation ones. And we just started embedding these Bose AR sensors into the headphones. We didn't tell customers about it. We didn't tell them, oh, now you have Bose AR in here, because they would say, what the heck is that? And I don't want to pay for it. And they weren't paying any extra for it. We're selling it for the same price that we were selling it beforehand. We continued to sell our headphones based on the promise of great audio quality, great noise cancellation, and the other jobs to be done that we always sold it for. And then when we launched our frames, our audio sunglasses in January, we also put the sensors on there. But again, we didn't talk about the sensors to the customers. Instead, we talked about the great sound quality, also the open ear listening experience where you can hear the world around you and hear your sounds and so on, the great voice pickup to make calls. So those are the reasons that we sold it. We didn't talk about Bose AR. But the great thing about putting these sensors into these products without, even though it didn't sell a single more product for us at the time, or hasn't yet, is that as soon as we made that decision, we're able to tell developers, please come develop apps on this platform, and within a year, by the end of 2019, you'll have well more than 1 million Bose AR devices out there in customers' hands that can start using your app. So we created a compelling value proposition without having to build all portions of that wheel at the same time. So with developers, what we did was a year and a half ago, so March of 2019, we had a small event at South by Southwest in which we invited developers in, explained to them what Bose AR is, and asked them if they wanted to be one of our alpha partners on there. We brought in about 10 different app developers and worked with them over the course of the year to help them develop their apps, as well as to help advise us as we developed the SDK and the other tools to make sure that those tools were going to be valuable to developers to help move them along. Then a year later, this past March at South by Southwest, we had a much, much bigger event that was open to the public, and we had many developers come through it. We showcased those first 10 apps, so those developers got a lot of great publicity, and we introduced our SDK and our other tools to those developers. And from that, we were able to start signing up a large number of developers to develop apps on the platform. And so I've been saying these vague things about what Bose AR does, but it's always helpful to just give some examples about some of these apps. So let me tell you about these are the showcase apps. So I'm gonna give some examples of the first 10 apps that came out. And then also the people that are currently developing apps on the platform. I'll give some of those examples. So what we found, we really opened this up to any app developer, and we said, this is the functionality, help us learn what you can do with it. It turned out that really a lot of the apps were focused on 3 different use cases. So we had a lot of gaming apps come up, we had a lot of travel and navigation apps, and we had a lot of fitness apps. So I'll just give an example of each of them, or one of each. So from the gaming apps, this one here that is highlighted is called Comrade AR, and there's probably about 10 other apps that are out there now. Comrade AR is a role-playing, is an audio-based kind of choose-your-own-adventure type narrative game. And so you basically are hearing a story and participating in a storyline, and you can choose which path and which direction you take from that. So as I said, these are supposed to be heads-up, hands-free experiences. So imagine you're walking down the street, you're commuting to work and walking through the crowds in Boston, listening to your headphones or your frames, and you are listening to this story on Comrade AR. You ask your headphones to open up Comrade AR and start playing it, and it starts taking you through the storyline. And as you get to the different forks in the narrative where it is asking you to make choices, you can just nod your head or shake your head to move through that storyline, or use your voice to answer if you'd prefer to use your voice. And in addition, at some points, you actually need to have body movement to direct you through it. So there's one scene in this game in which there's a shooting scene starts happening around you, and the person and the narrator tells you to duck. And if you don't, you might be in the middle of your commute to work. If you don't quickly duck and you don't do it quick enough, you're going to get killed. But if you duck, then you're fine. So that's an example of that. Travel is a great example we found of these heads-up, hands-free experiences, because as you're exploring a new city or a new location, you don't want to be buried in your phone. You want to be looking around, and it's not necessarily safe to do so. So there's a number of different apps that are developing on the system that really are around just telling you about the location around you, about the city around you and the buildings you're looking at, but based on what you're looking at. So traditional travel apps might be giving you a city tour, and they might even know where you are from GPS location, but they don't know what you're looking at. I went to Barcelona last year, and I'm following these tours to try to look at these famous buildings, and after I hear 5 minutes about a building, I realize I'm looking at the wrong one. And so this actually knows what you're looking at, and you could say, tell me about the building in front of me, or tell me about that building. And then from a navigation experience, I'm sure we've all had the issue where we're using a navigation app to navigate through a city on foot, and it just doesn't recognize what direction you're facing. And so it tells you to go forward a block, You start to walk, you get halfway down the block, and then it tells you to turn around and walk the other way because it thought you were going the other way. So you can imagine with Bose AR, it actually knows what way you're facing. It can even see what you're looking at, and it can say, look, the McDonald's you're looking at, that's where you should be walking toward, and turn right there. And then the third type of experience that we've had a number of experiences is around sports and wellness. So there are many, many fitness apps out there now, and a lot of them are either kind of static videos that take you through it, or they may be a little more interactive and they may be based on GPS location. But they really don't know, other than your GPS positioning movement, they actually don't know what it is that you're doing. So with the Bose AR sensors, we're able to translate for those apps, is the person actually doing the activity you want. So if the app is telling you to run and then to stop and to do 5 push-ups. A traditional app, it would be telling you to do the push-ups and might be counting, and many users would just be standing there and waiting for them to be done counting, whereas the Bose AR apps actually know if you're doing the push-ups, and can also, just like this narrative branch from the gaming, it can also take you on a narrative branch to either, if you're doing it, that's great, and they can encourage you. If you're not doing it, it can coach you in a different direction. So as I said, we put these sensors into the devices, but didn't tell the customers about it because we didn't want them to be disappointed when we only had a handful of apps out there. So instead, we've been working with developers to build up this compelling set of apps, and we have a few dozen out there now. We have not done any mass marketing to customers about Bose AR. This isn't a secret. I'm not revealing anything. You can find it on the web, but if you look at any of our products, it just doesn't say Bose AR or anything about it. The first real PR that we did around Bose AR was a few weeks ago. We just announced a partnership with Lucasfilms, in which we're creating a few Bose AR experiences for the Star Wars app. And so we announced that we're doing the Star Wars partnership along with the other 20 companies that they're partnering with for that film. And then we also, and basically what we're doing is in December, when the last film in the Star Wars series, the Skywalker series, comes out, and I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, but when that comes out, we'll be launching a few of these Bose AR experiences on the Star Wars app. And so if you own a Bose device, you'll be able to get this really exciting experience. I can't tell you about what the experience is now, but I can tell you in December if you connect to me on LinkedIn. And basically what that'll do for us is it's going to drive significant awareness of Bose AR at that time, and will also showcase to not just to customers, but also to other developers what kind of really cool experiences that you can have on Bose AR. So what is next? So going forward, we're going to continue to go out and recruit developers. We're now focusing, we started with just blanketly going out to developers to get some interesting content on there. Now we're working on really working with marquee partners, so Star Wars and some other big names and big brands. We just launched Lion King experience as well to coincide with the launch of the DVD that's coming out, I think any day now. And so we'll continue to work with these developers. And then once we get to a point that we feel, and there's no exact science to it, but we feel that this is exciting enough for the majority of the consumers, so the early majority, so not early adopters, but once we get to the point that our general customer for our products would be excited by Bose AR and excited by that set of experiences, that's when we're going to start marketing to the customers, and that's when we're going to start putting the Bose AR on the products and talking about it at Best Buy and Amazon and so on. Until then, it is a delighter that people discover, that the early adopters discover through just word of mouth and so on. So that's the plan, and that's how we've been building this ecosystem to date. So Thank you for your time, and feel free to reach out to me either after this or on LinkedIn or by email. Thanks.
Thank you, Rachel. Were there any questions? Yeah?
Okay, sorry. No, I'm happy to answer questions. I thought I was talking too long.
It was really cool stuff.
Great, thank you.
My son's going to love it. What I was curious about is the data. Are you guys collecting data that you'll share with your partners, or your partners sharing data with you?
Yes, so that's been part of this journey. That first year when we worked with these beta partners, it was part of the journey was us understanding what data they needed in order to feel comfortable that their apps are successful. And then we've been building that data platform so that we could share the data with them. So the daily annual usage, daily number usage, the monthly usage, and also just feeding it into our data platform to be able to know what customers are more engaged with these different apps and different products and so on, to help inform other marketing and product development decisions. Yeah, but we're still very early on that. Right now we're just putting in the mechanics to be able to collect the data, but how we use it to get value is still being determined.
Super
Yes.
cool presentation,
Great,
thank you.
thanks.
In terms of the partners, are you going to be building out your own app store, or this is going to be available through devices? And then how have you worked out the monetization of how the developers are going to monetize this and benefit?
So no, these are iOS and Android apps.
Okay.
And so they just have this Bose AR functionality. And so there are some apps that are specifically only work on Bose AR, but still go through the iOS and App Store. And then there are some that are just Bose AR experiences within the traditional app. So the Star Wars one was one of those examples.
Right on. And then industrial applications, like for corporations that may want to do something interesting with AR as it relates to their business? Yeah,
so we've gotten a lot of interest in that, and that's something that that we are definitely excited and interested about. We're looking at it and trying to figure out how do we best move into that industrial space, but we haven't done that yet. Yeah.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Thank you. Bose user myself.
Awesome.
So attracting talent, Boston obviously brings the brightest minds with Harvard, MIT, Northeastern, a lot of it. How do you stay competitive to attract the best talent, especially developers in your scenario, as you continue to grow when you have, Amazon, everyone moving to Boston, moving the headquarters here?
Yep. Like most companies, we have trouble attracting and retaining software talent. It's just especially because we're growing so quickly in our whole software group, and we need so many people. It's hard to keep up with demand for that. Bose has the benefit of just people who are passionate about music, love the idea of working for Bose, so it helps us a little bit. I didn't in my last job, but we didn't have that edge. There weren't people who are just passionate about kitchen devices that wanted to go there instead of Amazon. But at Bose, we're able to get some people because it's always been their dream to work at Bose. So that helps, but it's not. It's still a struggle, and it's really I guess we have to have the same considerations that all companies have to go into, which is just, is there a good career path we can talk about? Is there a good work-life balance? Is there a good continuous learning and so on? Yep.
Hi.
Hi.
Good presentation.
Thank you.
Quick question. I work for Sanofi in digital innovation. Are you looking into healthcare at all, focusing on patients or providers, or is not in the radar?
Wait, so looking at
Healthcare.
just overall healthcare. Yeah, so Bose has actually started 2 years ago a Bose Health division, and I'm happy to talk to you more about that, but we've launched 2 products. So basically, Bose core competency is around around audio and also around, and it has earned a spot on people's heads. And so we have launched 2 products, one around sleep health and one around hearing health. So the sleep health one is sleep buds that pipe in sounds and do a different kind of sound management and comfortable fitting sleep buds that you can wear overnight. And then the Hear Tech is also is a kind of hybrid headphone hearing aid type product. I'm sure the health people would be horrified how I'm describing it, but basically it uses Bose technology to help augment different sounds around you for people who are not hard of hearing, but kind of moving in that direction. But happy to talk to you more about what we're doing there. Yeah.